Well, I'm on the farm today, and it's just a beautiful day. It's warm, and we're spraying our fields today and maybe tomorrow, depending on how much time I've got. And but before we get going with it, I wanted to make a little modification to my boom sprayer setup. And we're not quite ready to use my big 500-gallon sprayer, so we're mashing this thing back into service one more time. Actually, we'll probably just keep it for doing small fields and maybe some Roundup. I really don't know, but in any event, missing from this sprayer, the inlet and outlet is the sprayer pump, and so typically I leave it on and just winterize the whole sprayer. But after my many years debacle with the blue high pro roller pumps corroding and whatnot, we decided to go with a nicer pump, which I've got a couple videos I think on those. But in any event, at the end of last year, I just cut the pump off, and so I need to reattach it here. So kind of got my little makeshift workbench, for lack of a better word, and I've got the high pro pump. This is like the top end high pro pump. Allegedly does not corrode, and here's the ends of it that I had cut off. And what I'm doing, I've got some hose, and I needed to lengthen the hoses coming from the tank to the pump anyway. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to be taking these short hoses off, putting a longer hose on, and to give me a little more slack. But also, and this is a great idea, it's not mine, a friend of mine, a haymaker in South Carolina, wonderful guy. He told me about this, and so thought we thought we'd try it this year. So on one end of the hose, we're going to have a female quick connect, and on the other end of the hose, we're going to have a male connect, and so that we can take this pump off of the sprayer when we get done using it, to be sure and clean this and make sure it's not being contaminated. And so that's what I'm up to here today. So let me make some progress and I'll come back. All right, so what I've done is instead of getting into a wrestling match trying to get hoses loose from one of these barb fittings, not just for this but most anything, typically I'll just make a slit with a knife, and then these things just come right off. Now, another thing I have learned over the years is if this hose right here is 3/4 hose, and when you go to put your hose fittings on, I like a good quality hose clamp. Sometimes the stuff you get at the discount stores, it's not very good. So that's one area where I'll spend a little more money. And sometimes I'll get the clamps that are a size bigger, maybe a size bigger. And the idea is when I tighten it down, I don't want to be out on the end of this band when I start tightening down. I want it to be fully threaded, for lack of a better word, into the band. So I usually go up one size larger. This band and one of these other bands came off of this, but let me fix some tubing on here, and it'll be longer than what I need. and I'll trim it when I get to the tractor. All right, so I got a certain length of hose on here, and the way this thing fits on the tractor is kind of the way it sits in my lap. And so the fluid comes out here and it goes up, and so I just took the natural bend of the hose and turned it up, and the fluid that comes in from the tank, it comes up more from the underside, and so I turned the natural bend of the hose in that direction to just kind of help me just to kind of help me you know, fit the thing up. Now what I've done here is I always try to position my hose clamps so once everything's mounted, this is out of the way, but I can get a nut driver to it. So that one's turned out that way, and this one's turned out this way. So I will clamp those down, and then I'll put one side or the other of this thing on. So I'll come back. All right, so I got these hose clamps down, and you know, I'm just kind of giving you the kind of the technique of things I can do. It kind of, as I was sitting here, it kind of reminded me, if you've been with my YouTube channel any length of time, you've seen some of the 5-string banjo videos I put up, and I'm kind of a hack banjo player, but nonetheless I try. But there's a fella down in East Tennessee. He's a terrific banjo player, and I've never met him. From what I can tell, he's a terrific guy. His name is Lincoln Hensley. Lincoln Hensley. And I highly recommend you tune into his channel. He's a phenomenal banjo player, and he's got roots with Sonny Osborne. And but he's had a few videos out here recently on how to put a banjo head on, and you know, how to set up a banjo. And I think it was one out today or yesterday where he's talking about how to mold the thumb pick, and he's going through steps like I'm going through. You do this, and then you do this, and you do that, and I don't know why it made me think of it, but I can barely play a 5-string banjo. Lincoln Hensley is an expert at it, but I don't know if he would. He's probably a better farmer than I am too. Certainly a better banjo player. But that's just kind of a shout out. Tune him in, Lincoln Hensley. So I hope you can hear me. The wind's blowing like crazy, but I encountered a problem, and that is I could not get these hose adapters to screw in to these fittings. And I thought, what in the world? I buy the same stuff that I've been buying forever, and but it won't go in. And I thought, well, maybe there's something funky about this fitting right here. And I got online, and it's a male pipe thread, NPT, that goes in there. And so I went back to the store, and I actually tried another fitting like this, and it wouldn't fit. And I thought, surely this is not metric. And then I've got a steel pipe nipple that I knew was NPT, because this wasn't in a bag, and there was no label. So so the pipe nipple screwed right in, and I thought, what in the world? So I got some I got another adapter here, fitting, and it said on this one was in a package, and it said NPT. It's a national pipe thread. Whoops. I'll come back. Technical difficulties. All right, I had to retrieve my fitting. We don't have like stage hands to fetch stuff like that for us. But anyway, this thing screws in like a champ, and so we're back in business. But what I learned, I went and what I learned was the fitting that I had was a GHT, and I had to Google GHT. I've never ever heard of a GHT thread, and what I bought was an NPT thread, National Pipe Thread. And I don't know if you can see the difference here in these things, but the National Pipe Thread is actually, it's really hard to see with this camera, but the National Pipe Thread is actually a finer thread. Turns out GHT stands for garden hose thread, and I have never ever heard of garden hose thread in an adapter like this, but I have now. So I'm going to get these things screwed in, and I like to use Teflon tape even on plastic fittings. Get that all put together, and we'll put these on the hose and the sprayer, and I'll come back. I wasn't too happy with this arrangement right here, making a 90 degree going up. I might change my mind, but I'm thinking that I just want this hose going straight in like that, and then on the underside, kind of, it's hard to show with one hand, but the store was out of the straight fittings like this, and I had bought the 90 degrees thinking I could make those work, but I'm not sure that's what I want to do. So I had to find another store that carries this stuff, and I got some more straight fittings. So I'm going to try to put those on and swap out these 90s and see if I can put this thing together. All right, so I got these fittings on, so now all I got to do is I need to hook these lines up, and I'll probably hook them up, and I may trim them just a little bit. You need to make sure you got enough line that when you raise it up that it's not pulling on the pump, and so kind of the goal here with this is not just to be able to take the pump off and clean it. Part of the goal is to be able to take this pump and use it on my 500-gallon sprayer. Now you might say that pump's not big enough for that, and it's probably not with a 40-foot boom, but we can't really use a 40-foot boom out here because of the way our fields pitch and roll. This is definitely not a dead flat land farm, so I'm torn as whether or not to cut the booms on my 500-gallon sprayer or to take these booms loose. They bolt on. These things bolt on. It may be that I take this whole thing off and bolt it to that sprayer, but I think we probably ought to hang on to a small 50-gallon sprayer for small jobs, but we'll see. So what I've done here is I've raised the sprayer as high as it'll go on this tractor, because it's quite possible that somebody might get on this thing and just take the lift all the way up. And what I got to be careful about is when they do, this hose right here is long enough. So I've got everything hooked up, and I think I got everything tightened up, but I'm not sure how it's going to be when I lower it. I haven't tied this thing off. It sits like that on this tractor where this bar is horizontal, but that's kind of the idea here. Is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this loose. There's a little detent that you press. If I can get it to go. Let me squat down here. Do that. So that hose comes out, and I can already see I've got these two backwards. I wanted this to be on the pump. I'll fix that later. And then this one right here, hit the little button, pull that one loose, and I can find it, pull that one loose. So I kind of made a little change as I went along, and I put this filter so that when I take the pump off, it'll go with the pump. So I just need to reach in here if I can with one hand, and I'm gonna try to do this. It's so tedious, and my hat's bumping up against the sprayer. That needs to go up. I don't have fancy equipment to stage hands. Alright. So, put my head down there, it's falling off anyway. And then pry myself up off of the ground. So what I've done is I basically, in a matter of seconds or a couple of minutes, it'd be a lot faster if I was using both hands. When I'm done with this sprayer, I can take this off, and I can take this off and rinse it out, put it in the sink, rinse it out, and clean those vital parts of the sprayer. And the reason I wanted this fitting on the pump and a fitting like this on both sides of the sprayer was because inside here is an O-ring, like a thick rubber O-ring, for lack of a better word. And what I'll do is I'll buy another set of these two guys, and I'll put a plug on it without the O-ring. And when I'm done with this thing, I'll just snap them over the top to seal this up. And the reason I didn't want to have it, the reason I didn't want to have this on the sprayer side is because whatever I snap in there would be hard against that O-ring, and I don't want it to take a set. I just want it to be compressed when I'm actually using the pump with it. So what I do is if I have another one of these, then that I put down, I know this is confusing, that I put over top of this, then I'll take the O-ring out and keep them for spares for those. And that way, when it's clamped down, all it's doing is blocking off from insects and things crawling up in there. So I will change this one and the one back there so that on both ends of this pump they're the same, and this goes with the pump and will go into the shed, and it'll be clean. It's so easy, so much easier to clean when that pump is off of the unit. And instead of wrestling with taking these barbs loose and pulling the pump out like that, I can just snap this. And then if I use this on my big sprayer, if I do it right, I should be able to just unplug this pump, put it on the other sprayer, put it with the other sprayer, hook up the lines and go, and use this pump for either sprayer. That would save me some money if I can. But I wanted you to see the idea. It's a good idea making your pump so you can just take it off of the sprayer and take it inside to store all winter or to clean between sprayings, and then also use you know, a cap over this to keep you know, insects and debris out. So that's kind of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's got a little longer than I wanted to, but I did accomplish my goal. I'll probably trim it a little more, particularly on this lower hose when I let it down. It's a little tight right up in here, so as that thing wants to go down, this is going to have to come back and do something like that. So might have to trim this a little bit. We'll see. But the basics are there, and with that, we're ready to spray. So we'll talk to you later.